Well, good evening, everybody. Happy Monday. I know that we are sitting back, probably looking back towards the weekend, missing that Saturday, that Sunday that we had. Now it's gone. Well, only four more work days before you get another one if you're working that classic 9 to 5. Or maybe, just maybe, tonight's guest will inspire you to take that chance on yourself. Because I'm not going to give you everything that Thomas has done uh, because, well, then we wouldn't really have a lot to talk about now, would we? But I will tell you, it's impressive. I've got some of my notes here, and it looks like he actually started not in real estate, so it's not going to be your classic only real estate. This guy has a very impressive resume, and he actually started with a supplement. Well, I hope I don't say that incorrectly. A supplement brand franchise, and he actually grew it to over 20 locations across 3 states in the matter of no, I'm sorry, 20 locations in just 3 years, not 3 states. So without butchering all of his bio, I'm actually going to bring him up on the stage, and really we're just going to chop it up and kind of go over what he's done, where he's at, what he's growing to, because he has some very interesting projects on the horizon. So without further delay, I'm just going to bring up Thomas Lehmann to the stage. So Thomas, thank you for joining us tonight.
Hey, glad to be here. Nice to meet you, Lee, and everybody.
Yeah. And real quick, if you don't mind, could you give everybody your background, your bio, and your words?
Sure. So I grew up in the Northeast, New York, New Jersey. Couldn't wait to move to Florida, though, let me tell you. And so went to Rutgers, graduated high school in the town right next to Rutgers. We evacuated New York right after like the early 80s because people think of New York City as Disneyland. Well, I grew up there in the 70s and early 80s. It was definitely not Disneyland. And so I think everybody left at the same time. Either half went to Long Island because no one went far back then, right? There was no move to California. That was like on TV. Or you went to New Jersey. So we were the New Jersey branch who left. Um, and I just couldn't wait to get out of there. Went to Rutgers. Then I went to first I went to chiropractic school for a year. And then I was following friends who did it. I said, oh, this looks like a great idea. Sounds good. Go down there. Then they're telling me the horror stories of starting their business, insurance back home, because my only thought was to go back. Uh, so I didn't do it. Then I was at the Summer Olympics in '96. Remember the guy who had the bomb and everything? So I had a
Yeah.
job there. I'm in school. I have a job, and I meet a professor from Emory. We end up hitting it off. And next thing you know, I drop out of chiropractic school. I go to grad school. I get recruited out of grad school to go work for Pfizer. And I was behind a quarter, so I had to go into a different, like I was on a wait to work thing after I graduated. But I took a job with them in the meantime. I was a salesman, a pharmaceutical salesman. Of all
Okay.
things, I was one of the original people selling Viagra.
Okay.
And there was no online stuff. It was, I never took the other job, did well, whatever they were doing with the merger. And I got a buyout. And I had no clue what that was at the time. I'm in my mid, 20s. I'm getting married for the first time. And my accountant, who still my accountant almost to this day, says, sign those papers before you get married, kid. Because the marriage didn't last. We split up. I head to South Florida, but I had my buyout money, and then I went back into the health food business, is what you're talking about, because that's what I put myself through college on.
Really?
hmm
And
I
what did
was
that
always
look
into
like for you?
fitness and working out and all that,
Yeah.
So I wanted to say, hey, this is what I'm going to go play with for a while.
And I don't want to take away too much from the real estate, but I did notice that you're a pretty fit guy. So,
Now,
there are,
yep.
yeah, there are some companies that are out there right now, and I've been really looking into exosome longevity treatments, things like that, right? So I'd love to have that conversation if time allows, just to get your take on it, because it seems like you work out, you're well supplemented, you probably focus a lot on your rest, your nutrition. So would
No rest. I don't understand that rest word.
oh, okay, all right.
But I have a 7-year-old daughter, 7, right? And
Okay.
last July I was 220. I'm 189 today.
Wow.
This was a
Wow.
lighter weight. In high school, ninth grade, I was 6 foot, 200 pounds. I never grew. I thought I was going to be this giant. I'm still almost 6 foot and I'm not 200 anymore. But I want to be around for my daughter's children.
That's right.
I want to
That's
see if I
right.
can be this easy grandfather that they always talk about. I don't know if I can, but I want to try. So she's 7. I got some time. So I said, I better take care of myself better.
Yeah. Well, I had the pleasure of seeing Dr. Bill Capp. He's the CEO of Fountain Life. He spoke at a presentation, and some of the things that he said, look, with modern technology and the way things are trending, it's not unlikely that we can live to 120 to 130 years old with quality of life, not just by age, but with quality. He
Yes,
said
I
that
agree.
the main thing is don't go out there and die of something stupid. So really, he made some great points.
Look, what you eat. I went with a company I think last summer, right? And then they did my DNA. We do cleanses. We do all these things, and I'm doing it more on my own now because the coaches left that I really was aligned with.
Yeah.
Someone my age coaching me who's been through our life. Don't give me a 25-year-old who has no clue. I want this guy who can go back and say, "Oh, I understand," right?
Yeah.
And but he had a though I have discipline, I wasn't applying it over there, and I should apply it everywhere because how you do one thing, how you should do all things, and pounded it into me. And I love accountability, and so you give them money, right? You give them $10,000. We're not doing that for nothing. We're going to get our value out of it.
That's right.
And but the DNA testing, they told me what my body wasn't methylating with vitamins. Told me I have good genes, so I have like the Jordache genes on me, so that's good. And I just needed a few tweaks. Train heavy. I hated training heavy anymore. I'm like, oh, heavy?
Yeah.
Okay. But then I started to, and short rest, heavy, 30-second break. Oh, so now I only have to be in the gym shorter time? Okay, you're my guy.
Okay. So
Yeah.
was that affiliated with like Gary Braca or any of that?
No,
Because
it
I've
was
heard of like the Human Garage and all those people.
no, but I am going to go look at the next level stuff where it's really looking into your DNA and then
Yeah.
trying to take better care of all your life going forward. Because I got the nutrition part down. We meal prep. My son's getting into it now at 15. Ask the good
Smart.
questions. Yeah.
Very smart. Yeah.
Pop, you're a hard worker. I see this. What do I have to do? Come on, let's go to the gym. Okay.
Yeah. So with that, and I'll be happy to share
Yeah,
you my contacts over there.
absolutely.
But they've really just kind of, in a way, and I hate to say this. So if anybody on here is watching, I'll go ahead and give a quick testimony. Last year, I spent 5 days in the hospital with an inflammatory condition. So both knees, both ankles had swollen up to where I couldn't get out of bed for 3 days. On the third day, it was a Friday, and I knew I was going to have to go to the ER and try to get something for the pain because my heart rate was like 130 at rest, and I hadn't gotten out of bed, right? So ended up having to take an ambulance ride. We went there. They checked me out. At one point, they gave me morphine for the pain just to try to get my heart rate to slow down.
Right.
So 5 days later, I'm out of the hospital. My friend, who's a nurse, she was amazing. She had doctors come check on me that weren't even my doctors, and every test run to find out. Uh, Long story short, my inflammation markers were high. Everything else perfectly normal,
Mm-hmm.
but my inflammation was through the roof. So I started I've been looking into going to like Costa Rica or Mexico for stem cell treatment for the arthritis,
Yep.
right? Thought it was, just in conjunction with being a bigger fella the majority of my life, but also a power lifter in high school and didn't really take care of myself.
We didn't know how to.
Yeah, I know, right? She introduced me to exosomes, and I started an exosome regimen, and my rheumatologist couldn't even believe the results because I haven't taken a steroid in 4 or 5 months, haven't had a inflammatory flare up or anything. And it's
Nice.
because I'm working on my hormones, doing
Yes.
better nutrition, nothing like what you've got going on, but it's getting there.
I'm not perfect. There's no
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. As you see me drink my soursop tea, I also have a caffeine-free Coke Zero. So it's about balance.
Only water, but I do have a protein shake my last meal of the day, right? But I did eat chicken wings for dinner with the kids. Okay. I'm
Right.
not going to miss that. I'm not going to miss their childhood, right? So I have to make sure that when I'm on my own is when I'd really be strict. But when I'm
I
with them,
respect
I'm with them.
Yeah, I respect that. And
Yeah.
so all that to say, I've learned that health is for sale. You have to be able to afford it, you know. And these are the treatments that aren't covered by insurance. So not to even ask. It's not covered.
Nope.
But the treatments are out there, and it's getting better and better and more accessible. And in time, the cost will come down. But for right now, it's not
They're
cheap.
expensive.
So,
Oh yeah.
well, and that really kind of, just to get back on track, because
Yep.
before we
We'll
got
talk
started,
about
we
that
already
all night, another night, okay? Because I could do that too,
That's right. We'll have you back on for that. But this rapid growth in your super nutrition, right? 20 locations in 3 years. That's not something that everybody does with a store. So could you give us just a breakdown on what did that look like for you? What were some of those challenges you had?
You know, like you, I have ADD, so maybe we look at things differently. And I created a different business model. I would find a strip mall with a GNC with clientele who had ready a non-compete clause. And I would put my own store right in there. If they're corporate store, they can't cut prices. They have to be this way. So here I come, I cut my prices down and I bring in other stuff that they don't carry back in the day. Cause I was in bodybuilding. We have different supplements, not just what they have.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, here comes all their clients. But then before it became fashionable, we put juice bars in.
Okay.
Protein shakes. We're by gyms and everything on purpose. So I'm going to take their clients. There's my other ones coming for my juice bar. And those stores took off. And we were across from a really big New York sports club. So they were going to put in a juice bar. Then they said, hey, would you come over and put one of yours in? Sure. So then I got in a few of those. And then next thing you know, there was a chain in New Jersey called Workout World. We were in there. Okay. Then this stupid thing happened. One of my old college roommates from grad school said, hey, why don't we do this in Miami? Nothing good ever comes of Miami back then. Okay. And then we went down to Miami and we did it for a few years. I don't remember a lot of those years. And then, I had to walk away in 2008, right? Because everything was melting down. Okay. Same accountant says, hey, dude, just shut the door. It's over. And I could see the numbers for sure because people couldn't afford milk. They're not affording what we were selling. Because now we're getting into really high-end protein shakes because that's where a lot of the profits were. We're putting a dime in and getting $1 extra out of it every time. So, but they can't afford them anymore because everything is about to go kapooey.
Yeah.
And my partner, who comes from family money down there, said, hey, I'll buy it. Let me have the rest of it. Okay. And I left Miami and went to California for a while.
Okay. All right. So you were never afraid to pick up and move.
I couldn't wait to get out of New Jersey, like that suburb, and just see this, right? Because there's more out there. Like, now the world is different today because back when we were growing up, no one moved. Maybe they moved a couple blocks, but there was like the one family. And I couldn't wait to leave. That's
fair. So, and I'm sorry, I keep staring over your shoulder, and I've told Catherine, my wife, this so many times. God doesn't call the qualified; He qualifies the call. And it's I don't know. It's great seeing some of these things because it gives me insight into your development over the years. Now mainly just because as I've gone through it, and I see other people whenever those small nods to, oh, he's been there, right?
Well, when I left Miami, it was for a reason. I had to dry out from Miami, right? I was doing drugs. So here's what happens when you're profiting the way we were, and you have all this money coming in, and you're in a town like that. The party never ends. And then, so my father, I'm a Russian and a Jew. So, he was a Holocaust survivor, a lot of demons, but an alcoholic. So a family friend came down to visit me, saw me, and said, "You're just like your father." Ooh, right? Never drank again. Stopped doing drugs. I'll have a drink once in a while, but nothing crazy. But never drugs again. Right then and there, cold turkey. But I had to leave Miami. I had to get out of that environment because the environment is going to suck you back in. Because the people I hung around were not going to quit, right? They wanted me back because guess who had all the money? They need me. And I'm like, no. And
you were the fun to the party. Yeah.
Yeah. And just couldn't do it, right? I'm like, no, I got to leave. So that's what I did.
So, Tom, one of the things that my wife swears by, she's like, if we go over to Miami for like a day, we'll go to the Yellow Green Market or something like that. We love those kind of like shops and things. So, but as we go around, we look and we see everything that's happening. And she swears, and if she wants to type it up, she can type it up in the comments. But she's told me before, she's like, Miami, I swear, it just runs off of cocaine and cigarettes because that's all anybody seems to be doing around here.
So, we were down there. We go down to Lauderdale for vacation once in a while. Yeah. We have family there, but we don't go further south too much. I still own my condo there. I always call that, in case it went really bad, that was my retirement package because I bought it pre-construction. It's a giant end unit in a great building. I got 3 more years of payments left, and then it's free and clear, right?
There you
And
go.
my wife saw it for the first time last year because we don't go. Now, my daughter, who's 7 and thinks like that's hers now, she's like, oh, we're going, right? But,
Yeah.
that environment is not really healthy for people.
Yeah.
And I wasn't strong
And I
enough to
think,
resist.
yeah, I was going to say, I think that's a large part of learning to change your surroundings, because I've seen
Yeah.
some amazing people just waste away because they can't seem to change their environment. It's like they're a tree, they're planted, they cannot move, they choose not to move. And one of the things, Tom, that I've realized is that people move away from pain more than they move towards pleasure. So if there's the pain of moving and having to reestablish
Hmm.
yourself, find a new sphere of influence and circles and friends,
Absolutely.
mm,
But
no,
but
I'll just stay at this 40-hour week job that I hate. You know?
well, it's the old adage: who you hang around with. Hang around with 5 of these, you're going to be 6, right? And it's true. What people don't want to hear is all the cliches are true. Put in the work, get up early, do this, but they don't want to put in the work. They don't want to do the hard stuff. My son became, over the last 2 years, such an incredibly hard worker.
No.
Started
Now, just
sports,
to stop you,
Go ahead.
you're telling me that you don't have some kind of secret tip that you're going to give us that just
I
makes
just
us
gave it to everybody right there, but they don't like that. Right? They don't
Damn
want to
it.
hear that because it's
What the hell are
hard.
you on here
Go
for?
go do work, right? Get up early. What time do you get up?
Yeah. Me,
You know,
5.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the latest I'll get up is that time.
Yeah.
If I have a good weekend off, like I've been having lately, because I hired a new ops manager and I'm out of that seat, I have a whole
Congratulations.
weekend. Yeah, I have a whole weekend off. I want to come to work at 4 a.m. Monday, not to work, but I want to get up. I want to start my day because I'm excited.
People, they look at me like I've got 2 heads whenever I say I want to get up early. I want to give everybody what I need done that day. So while they're all doing what
Hmm.
we've asked them to do,
Right.
I'm able to go and relax. And my day doesn't feel like a work day anymore. All I
I
had to
don't.
do was get up before sunrise.
So, but like you go on a plane and they always tell you, hey, a problem, mass drops, put yours on first.
Yes.
And I start my day with that. I roll over, get on my knees. I thank God for the 24 He may have given me. I'm going to use them to the best of my abilities. I do yoga and stretching. I have all my stuff ready tonight for tomorrow morning because I don't want to have any options. I need to just go. I go to the gym, I do my workout, I come home, then I start my day. And for me, this is my office in my home. When I go upstairs, I like to read on my phone or have Audible or news. I have another phone. Okay. It doesn't have email. Maybe 10 people have that number,
Yeah.
but it has my wallet and my Audible and things like that. But it doesn't have something that people can connect to me with. If there's an emergency, call my wife. If you
Yes.
really need something, you go to my EA and she'll determine if she's going to call me on that phone. It never happens.
Yeah.
Right? Because I found myself with my kids checking emails.
Mm.
Right? I'm not present for them. And my wife and I, when we decided to do this, said we're going to be present for everything.
Yeah. And that's, you've hit on a real sore spot for a lot of entrepreneurial couples. And I've got to say, I've felt at that more than I've succeeded, I'm ashamed to say. To where at a time, whenever you're sitting there and you go to a nice dinner and your spouse says, just for tonight, can we not have our phones out? And let me tell you, it makes you feel like, wow, I have been neglectful. And
Get another
so
phone. Get another phone.
yeah,
Right? It's important. I
wow.
found that, how simple was that? We can get another phone.
Yeah.
My son made sure my Apple Wallet was there. All my memberships that I needed over here were there,
Yeah.
but not the emails.
And Tom, it's such a simple solution. It's so simple. And
Mhm.
for some reason, I feel like I'm getting coaching right now. So thank you. But it's really, I think a lot of people think that it has to be more complex than it does. And I feel like I'm so disciplined in a number of things, but also so undisciplined, unfocused in other things. And as I start to make those corrections, dropping a little weight, grilling more than I'm frying, those
Mhm.
things, right? So the small choices compound into larger,
Absolutely.
results. But as I get there and I look back on those things like, wow, how foolish was I? And I think that a lot of the times we have to grow into those things. So,
Yes.
what would you say is what was that slap in the face moment for you that you said, "Oh, this is not working. I have to change it."
In this business or life? Well, let's go with this business. We'll
Just in
champ.
life, whenever you realized that you were failing at something and you knew
Oh,
you had to have that change, like moving from Miami and getting away from
well,
it.
no, it's this business, right? I was always successful, and I blew
Yeah.
up because of trauma as a child. And like a lot of guys, I was a know-it-all. You couldn't tell me crap a few years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm doing my first year in real estate. I thought this would be easy. I transit out. I had another company. I was in consulting for a while. Then a company we turned around. I ended up buying a trucking service and having all the trucks there. So then my best friend's dad said, "Hey, want to do real estate with me?" I'm like, "Hey, that sounds easy. Let's go." Hard decision. My first year, 3 deals. I went from plus six figures to $4,000 total for the year. And I hired a coach, a local coach. I wanted somebody who was local, doing it well now, not 20 years ago, right? Shares my values. I align with them. I found somebody in my market, and I gave her, at the time, it was a lot of money for us, an extra $1,000 because I only made four that year, and I'm digging. There's marketing and there's expenses, and that's not for profit. That's for total. Okay.
Wow.
And it's the COVID time. My daughter's 2, and I have daddy daycare, right? Because I've always been there, and I'm on this Zoom with this woman who's my coach, and before we go to the big group, I had to sit down with her. I had to have these 6 things ready for her answer. She destroyed me. I expected validation. She ate my lunch. Very nice. Beat me up. If it was a guy, there probably would have been 4-letter words. And I was going to quit the next day. Blank
Yeah.
that in the morning, but then it was got done. Baby Shark, right? That was the she's watching Baby Shark
It
videos
is, it is. Yeah.
because I bathe her, we eat, whatever. The next morning I woke up and said, "That was the best thing that ever happened to me. I will become a sponge in this business."
Mm.
That is and I always tell her that story because I see her and I say, "I love you. I like you, Josh, but I love her." And he knows it's a joke between us because I was able to give back also to her a couple of years later, where she's more of a wholesaler in that, and I became, we were really good at flipping. We were doing like five deals a month almost.
Yeah.
Will you teach a flipping class to my students? Absolutely. And then my marketing, she was still that old-fashioned snail mail, which ADD we don't like. And I was
No.
crushing it in texting and all that. And she said, "Will you
Yeah.
help my students with this?" So I learned to give back right away because that's important. Okay. But that was the key here that kicked me over here to really just start to change my mindset and how I did
Yeah.
things. Okay. Be a
Yeah.
sponge, be open minded. I'll listen to anybody. You want to tell me something? Great. Come on. If you can change my mind, fantastic.
Yeah. I'm with you on that sense that I like to think that I'm coachable, right? And there are times whenever I'm going and I've got some of those situations, and that's happened to me before, where it's like, yes, give me my validation. Oh crap, no, that what do you mean that I'm doing things wrong? What? And
Well,
then once that ego check comes, now you can sit there and realize this was actually for my benefit.
yeah. Well, so I coach and I'm coached.
Yes.
Okay. But it's like, if you're a good athlete, you're going to have coaches the whole way through. It's no different in what we do. Look, I'm in masterminds, high level ones. My business coaches were just here for my quarterly. Okay. Um, we had a horrible there. We live in Florida. We had these hurricanes, right? So I lost a quarter of sales because I fired my own brokerage that I owned a piece of. They were not doing their job, and then 2 hurricanes happened. So I needed on November 5th to have 6 extra closings between November 5th and December 31st to meet my numbers, besides what I already had. That's a hard in our market for me. My business goes to sleep at this moment. I I got all 6 done while
Wow.
rebuilding my sales team and operations.
Wow.
The
Congratulations.
lat Thank you. But so it's because of the coaching. It's because that when they came for one of my quarterlies, they thought I would be down. I'm like, "I'm not down. It's my fault. We go fix it now. That's what you're here for." No,
Yeah.
they were worried about me being down. I'm like, "Down? No, my fault. We fix. Get in here. Let's go." Right? I'm
Yeah.
good. So
I respect that. So
You're going to fail. Remember that. You're going to fail.
yeah,
Too many
yeah,
people believe they're perfect. Oh, shit. Right?
brother.
We might be married to a few of them, right? No, sorry.
No, brother, I can tell you right now, I've made more mistakes than I've made good decisions. It's just that I've capitalized on the good decisions, you know?
But that's what,
And
look, that's what it works. That's where it is. That's the magic.
yeah. Well, and speaking of magic, like as you transition, because now you're in a pretty niche area for investing, right? So now you're doing manufactured homes and affordable housing.
Only. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
So could
sexy
you tell
anymore,
us about
right?
that? What's
Sure.
that?
It's not really the sexy thing for most people, they think. But, you know, so go back to 22. I have every day I have 10 people calling and texting. We are doing, we had this huge line with Kiabi, private lending. Um, and then the summer happens. Those interest rates were going to go nuts. So I understood now that watching what Jerome Powell was doing with interest rates, and my parents bought their first house in 81. I remember how hard things were, 16.9% interest. Now, we could never get there in today's debt climate, but the wheels were going to come off quick.
Yeah.
And I looked at my business model and said, I have a dinosaur. I either got to pivot or I'm going to become one with it. So, not knowing what I was going to do, I had bought a mobile home to flip, got rid of the squatters. And when the sheriff and I opened the door, they took a chainsaw down the center of the floor. They tried to unhook it. There were all, I've never been in the house.
Yeah.
Fleas jumping everywhere like that Bugs Bunny cartoon. The guy's like, you want to go in? I said, nope. Okay. Uh, and we tore it down with just me and a girl in the office. Phone calls. Remember the old way? Hey, get me 3 estimates. We didn't know a crap thing.
Yeah.
And then it took 11 months. We made money even holding it this long. And I said, I can scale this faster than the flipping business. Because if you're running 4 or 5 contracting teams, your payroll is 40 to 50K a week.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do. This is your job, 40, 50,000 every week.
Yeah.
My payroll's 5,000 today. Right? I love that number. Man, that's like, oh
Great
man,
number
like
to
that.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're a lot of 1099s, but then we started buying from other dealers. And unfortunately, dealers have a very bad reputation, and they should, a lot of them, because we were getting robbed basically in some ways, not on price, but we would place an order. He would say, okay, all your money's due now. You're going to have your unit in 8 weeks. We're getting it in 4 months.
Oh,
But I'm paying interest on this. And then
yeah.
I found out what was going on. I don't know if you realize, but probably like you, I have a little bit of a temper, less now than before.
Less
And
now than before.
yes, the guy had 3 fingers, and I told him, do you want to keep those? My wife said, that's it, we go. And she said, why don't we just become a dealer ourselves? Okay, let's go and do it, right? Smart
Yeah.
woman. And that's what happened. Okay, we
Yeah.
just decided, and we just do it differently. We're really transparent. First of all, we sell to investors and people. I show them my price. Here's my fee. Done. You want our management service? You need us to do all the work for you? We got that too. But that's a fee, right? But
Yeah.
we do a bunch of those. But our bread and butter is putting down units in the affordable price range all across Florida now. Not as far south as you yet, but from, say, Highlands County over towards Hillsborough, a little south of there, all the way up into Jacksonville. And now we're moving. I was just up there at an engagement because we're putting a footprint up there now.
So with a lot of that, and I mean, of course, you've heard all the stuff, right? Manufactured homes are garbage. They're not built well. Blah blah blah.
I argue
Because
on TikTok about it every day.
yeah. So why don't we, if you don't mind diving into it, let's dispel a couple of those myths, right? I mean, the mobile or manufactured homes of today, in my opinion, they are not the manufactured
No.
homes of 30 years ago. Hell, even 15 years ago.
No.
Just because you go in there and sheetrock, I mean, there's a
Well,
lot
if
of
you
different
if you want, right? If you want to put
Yeah.
drywall, listen, look, I can make them to the point you don't know you're in a house. I can have box ceilings, all these crazy things, but now you realize your price point goes up.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, we were the Parade of Homes Builder of the Year for manufactured in Polk County. An amazing unit. Okay.
Yeah.
But that price point is hard to serve these days in this climate. Okay. But I can do it, and I do it for people still.
So what would that look like? And I know that you're inland, right? So are you focusing on keeping that footprint inland, or are they manufactured to where the wind rating, is
Yeah.
now stronger? Like what's that? What's
So
that?
absolutely good question. So think of where Milton came up right up I-4.
Yeah.
Okay. Within 10 miles of I-4 was the I. I had 3 units under construction. They were fine. We build, so the highest wind zone is 3, and that's for coastal mostly. We build to that standard every day, right? Every
Okay.
day. That's norm for us. Okay. Now, I don't do my own projects right on that coast where it's a little bit different for, I mean, there are always AE flood zones anyway, and that takes you out of the guide rails of staying in vanilla, right? Now you want a unicorn. We don't work with unicorns. We work with vanilla,
Yeah.
but I could, and I do if I need to. But we build to wind zone 3 it's not that much more,
Yeah.
but we're giving a better product, one, but it's also better for their insurance.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
And
whenever you have your
so,
wind bit done and everything else. Yeah.
it helps them because I think they're rated for 150 now. If you see that and how they're strapped down, it's really good tech these days on it.
Yeah.
And like you with ADD, we can do them in 90 days. Like our shortest project from land closing to sale is 98 days, right?
Yeah. No,
Okay.
I love
Yeah.
I love that kind of speed on the turns. Yeah.
Because you know your cash return cycle really well, right? Cash
Yeah.
conversion. Like I know my numbers, and it's like we're always at 180 and under. That's the goal.
Yeah. Well, and that kind of begs the question. So you understand velocity of money, and I've
Absolutely.
explained this to some of the people that borrow from me, because my sweet spot is doing fix and flip loans for somebody 6 months, 9 months, 12 months max. And like I explained to them, if you need more than 9 months, I'm going to question your knowledge of the market because you're not pricing correctly. Did you not buy correctly? Did you not
Hmm.
rehab within the budget? And that's why extension fees comes in because if I can go over here and I know somebody knows their numbers and they are dialed in, and
Hmm.
I'm charging say 12 and 3 if I'm discounting them because some of my loans are going out at 12 and 5. So if I discount them for 6 months at 12 and 3, what's that allow me to do? In 6 months, I get the money back and I send it right back out for another 12 and 3. So I annualize at my 12% APR, but I'm getting 6 points total. So my investors love seeing that I'm annualizing close to 18% of these loans. So it's about the velocity and how fast can you
Absolutely.
projects.
And we borrow a lot of money. We borrow all our money. But we always have skin in the game. Okay.
Yeah.
But what I use is differently, right? What I want a 24-month loan, but let me tell you, I'm going to spread your loan in 6 months. I'm going to give you another point. We're going to keep the money moving. Most of my money comes from IRAs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And they can't use it anyway. We do borrow from people like you as well. But it's to keep your money moving. Look, at 6 months, we're going to move the money out, right? We're done and on the market. Let's say there was a little hiccup with the hurricanes. We personally came in, started buying out our lenders, moved them over. No, I'm
Yeah.
putting your money over here. You're still getting paid, but now you're in a new project because we do it a little differently. We have them at 12%, but with 5% of our net profits.
Yeah. So right
But so
there.
now
So
you're in multiple deals in 3-4 years. That
yeah.
money adds. It's probably same as your points, and when you look at it, that could be $3,000 or $5,000. Like we're just at a really good project closing Wednesday. I think
Yeah.
they're getting $4,200 extra, just extra.
Yeah.
That's like the gravy, right? But
Nobody doesn't like a little land yet, So
but we spread them like that because now we can offer them good numbers.
mhm.
But when you spread the loan, what don't you have? Loan costs, doc stamps, all of that all over again. And so that allows you, if you know that, which a lot of people don't take advantage of that, to
Yeah.
be give them a better return.
Hmm.
And we do it like,
You have one thing that a lot of investors, if we're, you're probably in the 1%, if not top 1% of 1%, right? For what you're doing, because you've created deal flow where it's been interrupted for people nationwide because of the interest rates and the sales prices. You can
well,
have high rates, you can
yes,
have high prices, but you can't have both at the same time. So whenever you go into that, you've kind of like really carved out your niche.
I
All right,
went
in
where
my
there was
case,
nobody, right? There wasn't nobody doing it as a business, at least here.
yeah,
Now it's not, I see people coming in behind me now, and we're
yeah,
morphing into other things along the way because we see different things now, right? As you raise up and you're looking, you're just raising your head above the crowd, and you're like, oh. But when we pivoted over here, 3% mortgage, we could talk anybody out of a home. We were really good at it.
Yeah.
Not at 8%. But guess what I
Yeah.
said? We don't have to talk anybody out of vacant land. Half the people don't know they even own it.
Yeah. So you've got your system built out too for the acquisition on the land. Now, have you looked into developing a mobile home park
Mhm.
and placing them there as well, or does that cost out for you well?
It does. So we had this one under contract here in Zephyr Hills. It didn't work out the numbers. Then I ran back into ops for a while. Now that I'm transitioning out, that's where we're going again. Um,
Yeah.
we've been in development talks with that because we want to do a different model. And as an investor, my goal is to make you happy and me happy. That's a hard thing sometimes. So when look at this, what we're going to do is we're going to buy a park. We're going to knock it down. What an old
Yeah.
one. We're going to
Take
bring
it
in
to the
all
dirt.
new. Yeah, we're going to bring in all new units, everything. We're going to charge good rents. We're going to make it a good park because old crappy units is not a good park. It's not safe. Families don't want to live there. Families have money. Single dude with beer on Friday has no money.
Yeah.
And so, but we want a safe place for them, clean, nice environment, because what we want to do is pay off those units in 5 years, 5 years. Then in year 6, we sell it to the tenants or any tenant, right? So we're not going to sell it for less than we pay for it. And we're not the bank, so our interest rates, because they can't go to 1, right? But
So if I'm
now, go ahead.
just on the quick math, if we're going, are you using GRM for your method for your gross rent multiplier to get your 5 year payback? So if it's renting for say 1,000 a month for round numbers, 12, so that's going to be you'd be in it for $60,000.
It might be a little less than that if the verticals are good for sure, because I know what
Yeah,
my prices are for the unit, right? So that's the
yeah,
thing. What you're paying for the unit is going to dictate everything on the back end.
it really
But
does.
once those units become paid off, now during those 5 years, we paid off our investor, but he still profits with us in year 6 when we sell it. And now we're getting lot rent and interest payments. Oh, by the way, no more maintenance costs, right? Because we don't own the unit. And the few
So,
people who understand, they're like, wait a minute, hold on, I get my money back and all the tax breaks you're going to help me with. And I still, of course, you're the partner. This is where the gravy really gets good
yeah.
because it's all passive now in a great way.
Mhm.
He's like, and there's no maintenance. I said, yeah, no maintenance because that's on the owner of the unit, not us anymore.
If I'm getting too deep into the sauce, let me know.
No, it's okay.
So just from what I'm picturing, because we bought a small mobile home park back in September, October, and we know it has some lift, right? But I negotiated like 100K off. He was wanting, I think, 450. We got it for 350. It's 11 units, and we knew it was need some work. And one of the things that that I've thought about doing was going to my partner or just finding another one and saying, hey, look, let's just take this down, like you said, take it to the dirt, and then we'll bring some in and owner will do lease options, right? So that
Mhm.
alleviates any of our stuff, and then we put them to a lot rent once the lease option's been exercised.
Right.
So that's and then at that point you can go ahead, compress your cap rate, exit out on year 6, year 7, and you're straight, right? So one of the other things I've looked at is pivoting into, and I see that you do affordable housing, Section 8. Really going out there and being able to provide these at a
Different
higher
though.
quality.
It's I used to have a lot of rentals over there. Where they all were over there at one point because you know what? I want to
Yeah.
make sure I got paid because I needed to, and I transitioned it out because of the headaches. Um,
Yes.
I learned property management while flipping all these homes. My wife runs that company now, but she has their credentials and all. But we only manage ours. And what I learned is try to stay away from this for me because it was
Yeah.
headaches, right?
So
But yeah, we want a little above that. I want like the family oriented, because there's more. Look, we have an economy that's not working for most people. Let's be fair, and I don't care who you voted for. But people are getting compressed down into this asset class called mobile home parks.
they really are. Yeah.
Not willingly, okay,
Yeah.
but that's an issue, but an opportunity. Okay,
Yes.
why don't we be different? Let's not have this crappy mobile home park like a lot of look all slumlords. Let's do this because people will want to live there, not have to live there.
Yes.
Okay.
We've actually exited out. Well, we still have a couple units on Section 8 in one city, but we've exited that city because the housing authority there, complete incompetence and apathy. And that's a bad mix, brother. you know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that we don't like having rent guaranteed on the fourth of the month every month, but also we've resigned ourselves to where we're only going to do business with people that make it worth doing business, right? And if you make it hard for us to do business, we're
You
good.
leave.
You know?
But that's
Yeah,
life, right? Life is math. Do you add value or not to my life? Let me get my calculator out.
yeah, exactly. And I'm always keeping score, baby. You know, so that's
Our age, you have to, right?
yeah, man, I'm telling you, it's I'm only want to make it to about 130, so I need to make sure that I'm being valuable with my time.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, this has been fantastic, way more than I actually thought we would cover. But if you don't mind, we're going to keep on chopping
Let's
it up.
roll.
So, my wife Catherine, she's actually watching. She's my biggest fan, and I love her for it. Are you owner financing? You said so.
Well,
Regarding
I
your
am
mobile
not owner financing in scale, but I've done it with a unit or two now. Um, I had investors who were skeptical about my business model when I needed to get a ton of money in. So I took one of the units we did and I showed them that I could cash out refi on it 30 days. We're in at 62%. We were getting 75, right?
Mhm.
LTV. Those are good numbers.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we actually paid it off and then we did a lease option to somebody for that unit, and then we have refied again in another one, paid it off, and then um, I think that's the one we're owner finance. My wife runs. I think it's down in Sebring. Okay,
Okay.
good
Hmm.
market for rentals. We have a bunch down
Yeah.
there.
I just had somebody send me some land over in Sebring like 2 days ago. I told them, get me some more information. Let's look at it because I like Sebring. It's far enough inland.
Hmm.
I might break off and do some stuff. And without sounding too much like a spoiler alert, it was going to be a manufactured home. So I'm glad that we had this call.
I know where you can
Uh,
get them. One thing, let me tell you about Sebring, right? Their impact fees are not there, zero, right? They don't have
yeah,
those.
yeah.
And the cool thing is their tax rate doesn't go up like when you put the unit down. And so when we refinanced, they were like, "Oh, your taxes are 4,000." I'm like, "You better check that. It doesn't change. $900. It's not going to change more than $900." The bank
Mm,
couldn't get that wrapped around their head, right? I'm
yeah,
like, "Listen, why don't you call and ask?" Because they just, they're not here. They don't understand. Great place for business, like property taxes here. Ooh, love that.
yeah. Well, and I guess whenever you refinance, you're doing it with a DSCR, right?
Hmm.
So are the banks hitting you at a DSCR or globalization rate of one? Or are they going 1.25 on mobile homes? What's that look like?
I'd have to check, honestly, right? I just
Yeah.
know I look at the interest rate. I think we got a great one recently at 8%, 8.3, 8.5, something like that.
Okay. All right.
But when we're the property management company, then they tell me I can rent it for this. And I'm like, look, I already have it rented for $250 more than you're saying. What are you talking about?
Here's the
Why don't,
lease.
right?
Yeah.
Because we're the management company. We have somebody waiting. I'm just not going to let them in until I get my appraiser in there because I want to make sure it's clean and all that. And I show it to them. Oh, but by the way, we have three more around it within 3 miles. Your numbers are off.
Yeah.
Learn your market.
And the beauty about this, and I think a lot of people they kind of graze over this. They see you as all right. He's a landlord. No, no, no. You are in essence the sub bank in this structure, right? Because I've had people with lease options before. They would contact me and say, "Hey, the AC went out. Send somebody out." I'm like, "No,
Mm,
I'm sorry." Because in this position, I'm your lender, right? This
right?
is your lease option. And what that means is all repairs are due to you. You wouldn't contact your bank once you bought a house and ask them to send somebody out.
You
So
own the
this
paper
is
better way, right? You own the paper, and you
yeah,
you got the you got the actual physical thing, but I'm the note, right?
yeah,
So
exactly.
people don't understand that with subject to because it's like, hey, yeah, I own the house, but the debt's still in their name. Okay,
Mhm.
we were doing a subject to with a title company we never used before, and the owner of the title company decided to call the bank and explain to them that even though my name is my we were buying in a trust, they gave him my name and said I'm going to be assuming the loan, right?
Yeah,
And I'm like, what are you talking about? Where did you get that from? He's like, Tom, I own a title company. Doesn't mean you're smart, right? You just own a title company. You're not
yeah,
because you assumption and subject to they're different words. And
yes.
I had to go back to him and say, because of you, that lady lost the house. She doesn't own that.
Mhm.
She would have got money from us. We would have fixed her credit because you didn't know your business and you own a title company. You think you're an expert.
And then you turn around and now you look that woman in the eye and ask her why she's got to sit there and watch her house be sold at a sheriff's sale. You know?
because I don't like houses anymore, but I will buy creatively still, right? Because that's, look, we make a profit and it goes into homes. You know, like people, it's funny, somebody tried to reach out and sell me crypto. But what I did is, so I flipped it on the conversation inside of Facebook Messenger. Well, hey, you know what? If you want that, buy my houses first. Let's do this. And I'm, you know, and they're like, oh, no, we didn't, no. My wife's like, you're just trying to annoy them. Absolutely. I'm having fun. I got nothing better to do right now. You know?
All right. So I pray, dear Jesus, please have my wife watching this part so she knows I'm not the only person that does that to people. Oh. And she's just like, why do you give them your attention? I'm like, I need a creative outlet. Okay. So,
you know, we were driving home one day from Orlando, whatever, and we had traded in a lease vehicle my mom had, and we gave them the check. They sent the check back to me, said, oh, they're going to call for it. So when they called and they sent me the bill, they were off by, on a $6,000 check, they were off by 400 and change. Okay. So I'm trying to explain to the lady, I don't mind paying it, but your numbers are wrong, whatever. For 20 minutes, we're going around this cycle. We're in the car, my wife's driving, it's horrible anyway. Not a great driver. Love her to death though. The lady said, hold on a second, puts me on hold, comes back and says, okay, we're going to do the 400 some odd dollar payment to clear the bill. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll accept that deal, because I got her so confused that we paid it right there over the phone with a credit card. We wanted to make sure we're done. My wife's like, how did you do that? I said, I annoyed the hell out of her and confused her. That's how probably I married my wife. I confused her.
Yeah. You know, it's not that it was our looks or anything. I mean,
absolutely not.
Number one, I walked around with a joke book in my back pocket. So, you know, that's how I won my wife over. So the ability to kind of guide the conversation can be an extreme benefit, right? And not just in negotiating $400 here, but whenever you're sitting here and you're really trying to have a conversation. And this is one of the things, Tom, that gets me, and I hate it, but it's part of the game that we play, and, you know, whatever. But whenever you have to play your cards to your chest, and the sellers playing theirs are so guarded, but then you almost have to lead them down the path and let them slip in conversation so that you can find out what's really going on, so that you can then help them. You know, and in that case, a lot of people, they don't want to let it slip because they think that you're going to try to screw them over. And I just tell them, like, look, if you want me to buy your house cash, I've got an offer for that. If you want me to buy it creatively, I've got an offer for it. Hell, I'm a realtor. So if you want me to list it and sell it, I've done over 700 transactions since 2017. I'm happy to do that. We just find a conversation and we have an honest conversation about what's going to benefit you the most. Yep. And if it's a win-win, then we can do business. If not, then I'll be happy to be your realtor, you know? But there's an art to having the conversation with people. You know?
There was a great book. I don't know if you ever heard of it. You Can't Learn to Ride a Bike at a Seminar. It's Sandberg. It's the original sales book. That's the straight line. He called it the submarine. Everybody has to be your 5-minute friend. Okay. The old thing, right? Old cliche. People do business, people they like and trust. If that seller wants you to give them a price in the first minute, they don't trust you. They don't like you. So when I used to get on the phone with people, I would check them out first. I would go to Facebook, whatever the social media is, anything I can look on. I would look at all of that. Then, you know, those older searches like True People Search and everything. I just wanted to find 5 or 6 key nuggets that I could talk about when we got there to bond with. And there were so many times that I would talk to a seller for an hour plus. We would have to have another conversation. But if they give me an hour plus of their time, they're going to let me help.
Yeah. Okay?
Yeah. But if they don't, if they say, what's your number? You're dead. It doesn't matter anymore. Right.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
You know, we were at an event last week and one of the guys who worked with me, he drove me up there and I watched him do it with somebody who came over and then he got lost for a second. But I went over to the guy happens to be Guyanese who came over to one of my assistants. My wife is Guyanese. So I saw the guy's name. It's the same name as my father-in-law. Very uncommon name, Preem, right? I'm like, oh, you're Guyanese. He's like, whoa, how do you know? And I saw the village pictures. I know the whole life story. We're invited for dinner whenever we go to Jacksonville. His wife already reached out to my wife on Facebook because now I have a friend. Then he told me, I came here to see you tonight.
Yeah.
You know,
that's whenever you know you've made an impact.
Yeah, but is that what we're supposed to do? That's our job. We're here to
Yeah.
help people, but sometimes they don't know they need to be helped.
I know this is your showcase, right? But I feel that I have to share the story with you. So it was Friday night. I took a call with an investor that, they wanted to talk to me about my fund because I've been in my capital raise. I've been working to lock down about 1.7 to 2 million more so I could close this quarter, do another closing. And
Right.
all that to say, he's sitting here telling me about why he hated his fund and everything else. And, he started out, he was already wealthy. And I'm like, well, good on you. I wasn't. I started with 6K, my guy. So, I have to do something. And anyway, we're going back and forth. And he was talking about he hated a fund. He had about 30 million in a fund. And he was like, I just really did not like, answering to other investors. And I said, but see, that's what the beauty of this is. I love making people money.
Absolutely.
I love it. So really, we have to find those things that tune us up and get us excited. And for you to be able to connect with somebody and that going in, you were able to go ahead and dismantle a lot of that guard that he had, right? So, and I don't think people put enough emphasis on that. We've won flips by being 5,000 under the other offer because they liked us more and thought that we would honor their family members' wishes with that house more than the other person. You
Yeah.
know?
If it's only the money, you're dead, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You live
It
on
has to
prices
be more than
right
that. Yeah.
now.
And so we always want to do things differently. Like I only do business with people I like, even my lenders. So
Yeah.
one of my lenders, we had 1.2 million of his money. He has a second attorney involved later on who's a jerk.
Yeah.
He couldn't do the same transaction the way the other guy could because remember we're using VIN numbers in the beginning, MCOs, and the other guy could do it. This lawyer couldn't. So he's like, hey, you're going to title it now. I'm like, no, I'm not. It's not in our agreement. He's trying to tell me what to do. And so my friend, because the guy who lent the money, he's a friend. We're still friends because of this. And he said, this is how you're going to do it. I said, no, not going to do it because now you're going to trigger 6% more tax.
Yeah.
You're going to pay it because I'm not paying it. That's a lot of money because we already paid 3. We factor it in. I said, maybe you need to go back to law school and figure out how to do the deal correctly because the other guy could. Right.
Yeah.
And he needed paperwork. I wouldn't do the paperwork, but I did some of it. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to. And then he wanted me to deliver it myself to the different counties. So
He was on the ego trip.
Oh yeah, I put it on my front porch in the chair, gated community. I said, only you can get through my gate. Come and get it. Right. By the way, I'm paying you your money at the end of the month. Right.
Yeah.
Really? And my friend was like watching. He was like, Tom, I was watching. I had popcorn watching you and him go back and forth because I made him come and get it.
Yeah.
He's
over profits,
Well, at my age, it's like the mafia, right? My books are closed to a lot of friendships. This guy is a friend at a late in life that I so enjoy. We go to dinner. We never talk business. It's everything else.
Yeah.
If you could spend 3 hours with somebody talking, not your business, just life at our age, and you don't know them when you were a kid, that's good. So I value that. I will say, I don't want your money here. Because money, if you know how to use money, you can get it. And if you realize it's just a tool, like when I lived in Miami, I loved money. I don't love it today. I know the value of it. I know how to use it correctly. Look, my father-in-law has cancer. We take care of him, right? That's my good use of tool. That's a good use of it, right? We had a bad month in January. We lost money because all our closings we had an amazing February though. Let me tell you, like we doubled the closing because it happens, right? So I have an in-house CPA who handles all my books. She said, hey, maybe you shouldn't give so much this month because we give lots of charity. I said, maybe I should figure out how not to have a bad month. That's the thought, right?
Oh, yeah.
And she was like, how do you do that? I said, I figured it out, right? I make sure my ops manager was working. I moved myself over to a different seat because my role, like you, I'm only here to drive revenue. Okay. I don't need to manage my children. They know what's expected, but I'm a horrible manager. Someone told me about this the other day when I hired them. It's the common sense trap. We expect people to have common sense. I'm like, well, they should, but they don't, right? And to deal with that on a daily basis, last week I had a crazy week, travel, speaking, all that, never got tired one day, right? Because I'm helping people. But if I had to do those kind of hours managing people, just shoot me, forget it, right? Because I feel like I'm being dragged backwards.
Man, I need to know what your hourly rate is so I can cash app you later because this is like my coaching session right now. So thank you.
Yeah,
The just it's just the validation that other people go through this as well, right? And I know
absolutely.
I've got some people on this stream that a buddy of mine, Jason, that we've gone back and forth with some of these challenges, and ultimately, I think you figured it out. Let your vibe attract your tribe, right? I'm not going to bring somebody into my life that causes chaos. We're either going to gel and we're going to be good, or
Yeah.
we don't have to do business. We can keep it moving and we can keep it light and social, right? But it's important because I think that a lot of people they don't realize, you know, what the disruption to your happiness can do to your life and your health. Saw an
Oh
article
yeah.
on LinkedIn. Yeah, well, Warren Buffett, 94 years old, still eats McDonald's, drinks 5 to 6 Coca Colas a day. We're not talking Coke Zeros. We're
Nope.
talking Coca Cola. And then you've got other people that they have to go and do digital detox. They have to go to retreats. They have to go to ayahuasca ceremonies and all this other stuff just to unscrew the life that they've got.
Hmm.
It's because they're not happy with what they're doing. And
Absolutely.
Warren Buffett wrote a book, Tap Dancing to Work, right? To where he loves what he does. In his spare time, he loves reading business, articles and business reports. So when you found that for yourself, did you see a direct correlation, not only like in your business, but as your happiness grew, then you were
Yeah.
able to feed that back into your business. And did you see at that point is when the real explosion in the growth of your company happened?
So I became a voracious reader, right? I read every week, every day. It's mandatory for me. Um, but just like everything in life, your knowledge grows, what you can do grows. And then
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people I'm not like just a teacher who doesn't want to use it one day in real life. I'm going to put it to use, right?
Yeah.
Because there's like a little file cabinet up here. I said, oh yeah, I remember that. This is how we do this, right? But more importantly, I think for me, when 2 years ago, my son entered high school and never. Now it's my stepson, but he's mine. I raised him forever, but he's Indian, right? So they don't want him playing football. He says playing football. All of them say no. I said, what's the rule? He says I can't quit till the season's over. Okay. Now I played in high school and college. I played Division 1 at Rutgers. So I go to his practice. Now I'm counting. I'm like, there's only 9 kids out there. It's different, right? Okay, because it's a Christian academy, but he's a 5'9", 200-pound kid,
Now,
never conditioned this whole summer, doesn't know what football is, by the way, has no clue. So I pull in my pickup truck and I'm going to work from the back of it. Got my little hat on, got my laptop. I'm watching. I don't say a word the whole week. So then I go over to meet the coach on Friday. So now my son is really dark. I'm really light. He looks at me like, "You're Aiden's dad." I'm like, "Yeah, you see how dark his mom is, right?" And he's like, then he laughs, and we're having a good time. And then I'm watching my son that day do bear crawls, do sprints, all the things that I remember. He was never last. And I said, tell me what you're thinking out there. He says, Pop, I see how hard you work and what you've accomplished. I never want to be last. And I was like, he gets it, right? Because now he went from being very spoiled and pampered, because, mom will bubble wrap them, to hard work. So now he didn't even know we got a sack one day. I'm like, hey, great job on that sack. He's like, what's that? Right. But his sophomore year, he played varsity, right? Good job.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
4.5 GPA. He's going to graduate high school with his associates. Okay. That's where I see it. And then I mentored a young man. He's been in my life for 4 years. I watched him go from a C student to all A's, graduate early. He works in my company now. Half the week I want to kill him if I manage him. That's why I don't manage him anymore, because he's 19. But he's in my
Yeah.
house half the week as well with my children. He is another child of mine.
Yeah.
But I see it in him, what came out, what I learned, I watched him use. And to me, at one point with the ego, I told my wife, if I knew this stuff years ago, what could I have accomplished? Now I look at these children around me and say, they're going to do great things.
Yes.
Right. And I'm
And the
happy
fact that
with
you're
that.
speaking power over them too. That's so important.
Yeah. Because we needed that. I didn't grow up with that. My wife and I, when we built this, we tell them, I love you every day,
Yeah.
every day. When my kids go to school in the morning, I love you. You're amazing. Do amazing things. My daughter wants to come down every morning and beat me to the punch, because she's the one who I have to watch, because she's definitely my little mini me, right? I worry about that one.
Yeah.
But we created a different life than we had.
Yeah.
because we didn't have to do that. Like I told my son years ago, remember, I didn't have to love you. I chose to love you. It's completely different,
Yeah.
right?
It reminds me of a clip I saw where it was a father and son, and I don't know, it hit me some type of way because, like you, I didn't have the greatest childhood, and relationship with my father. But it was where this kid and the father, they were in this scene together. And I want to say it was Denzel Washington was playing the role. But this guy was like, he was a son, said, "Why don't you like me?" And the Denzel's character, he said, "No, I'll put a roof over your head. I'll make sure you get fed. I'll make sure you go to school." Where in that agreement does it say I gotta like you? And
Mm.
I was like, that hit me on so many levels, that while my father provided for me, I don't necessarily feel that I was ever loved in that sense, right?
Agreed.
So, and I try that with the people around me in the sense that I want them to understand, like, I love you. I want to speak power over you. I
Hmm.
don't want to just do the obligation.
No.
I don't want to do what's expected. You
Mm-mm.
know, so, and with that, but the amazing thing about it, Tom, is that whenever you start speaking power over your circle, watch your circle speak power back to you, and the ones that don't, you realize aren't your circle.
Well, you know, guys like us, I'm going to say there's a term for it. We're diminishers of people. Our flame burns hot. Okay. A lot of people don't want to be near that for long, right? Because here's us doing all this stuff with everything we have, and they don't want to put the hard work in. They don't like the comparison. That happens a lot. And, somebody told me a long time ago, everyone around you is going to be gone. They're not going to put the work in. No, they were right. And the
Yeah,
analogy I say, it's like people are in a rowboat and you're pulling them over the rocky ground. You're either going to kill yourself pulling that rowboat or you're going to do this, right?
yeah.
And my circle is really small today. Okay. One of my good friends, he saw me across the gas station. I didn't even know he was there. I was having a bad day, bad face look, he said. Reached out, "Hey, brother, are you okay?" That's the circle you want to. In Miami, I had a lot of people. They didn't count, right? It didn't matter.
Superficial. Yeah.
And now it's really small. Like if you meet my children, if you're around them, it's different because my children know that. Friday I was at this summit where I was speaking. I took my children out of school and I brought them, right? I wanted them to see what this business provides. Because look, I'm at the Gaylord Palms, amazing hotel. We had a suite, took them out of
Beautiful
school.
hotel. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been there since the outside was redone. It's amazing. And my son came, r- thanked me, told me he loved me. He was at his school's retreat, you know, and it was just a great moment because they never saw me on the big stage, right? You've seen it, right? It's like my wife's
Oh
like,
yeah.
I said, hey, look around. They're not telling me to shut up, girl. Be careful. And but they also knew when I grew up, I had a horrible stutter. Horrible. It was like a machine gun. And now, yeah, but that was because of abuse, right? That's what it
Yep.
was.
Yeah.
So
Man, and God, like, all right. So first off, I hope that you'll come back on the stream with me.
I'm gonna come to Naples and see you, but I want to work out with you. We'll
Yeah,
go hang out.
yeah. Well, I'll make the trip up to Orlando. It's only 4 hours, right? And you come on down here. We'll just trade off trips. But so as we get ready to wind this down, because I only said it for an hour, but something tells me I could go for 5. So
I think
um,
we could.
the anchor question that I'd like to wind this down is, what advice would you give, like, entrepreneurs that are really getting ready to get started, and they've had the catalyst, right? So they've either had that most horrible day at work that
Mhm.
has made them decide that no more, I'm not going to live my life like this anymore. What advice would you give somebody that's starting that journey that you wish you would have been told all those years ago?
You know, you just have to go and do it. Okay. I think so people get so afraid. And a lot of people go into this and say, oh, what all this could go wrong. But the truth is, a lot could go right. You are going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
You just don't keep doing them. Don't expect perfection. I done a bunch of flips. I had one perfect one. I don't get anymore. Everything else is going to have hair on it. But as you grow and know, you know how to get a haircut on the hair. And
Yeah.
someone told me, hey, don't do any of these deals before you get your dealer's license. Okay, we did like 30 of them before we did, right? So by the time we got our dealer's license, we were able to run a little faster. Okay.
That's right.
That experience, we lost a couple bucks, but not a lot. We made money, right? But what did we learn? And people are so afraid to do that because they think, what could go wrong?
Yeah.
And stop chasing comfort. We're all worried
Mm,
about being, oh, comfortable. I hate that word because then you're complacent.
yeah.
Today, you need to be better tomorrow. That's your goal. That's not a comfortable goal for people.
No, no, it's
And
not.
the big hate, ready, accountability. I have a bunch of accountability partners. Nobody wants me as theirs because you ask for it, I'm going to come to you, right? Because I pay for accountability. I'm sure you do too, right? I mean, it's just coach and coach, right?
You
And
either
when
pay
you
for it or you pay for it.
Yeah, and I got really great coaches and mentors in my life. 'Cause you know what I did? I looked for people who I align with, not just business, spiritually. Like I need people aligned like this. And then when I find them, I want to be around them because you know what I'm getting? I'm getting energy back. I'm getting the way. Okay.
That's right.
I
That's
don't
right.
need to be on like a lot of people, it's hard what we do in general, but the mountain we go to in the end when we win, there's not a lot of us there, but the ones there we're aligned with, and we don't even have to talk to each other. We just know.
Yeah.
Because you go on stage with people, you talk with people, and you're like, "Oh, he's full of shit." You don't say it, but you just know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need to hate on people, but I know.
Yeah. You spot them for what they are, and then you just keep it moving. Yep.
There's flash and there's substance, right?
That's right.
I always
That's right.
say, "Hey, you want to be the iceberg, not the ice cube," because you know what? When you hit
Yeah.
somebody, it hurts.
I like that. Well, you've given me so many little takeaways tonight that I'm thankful that I'm recording this, so I get to
I
go back
man,
and play this back for me and my community. And all that to say, as we wind down, because like I said, we
I,
could keep this going all night. Um, how could people follow you? How can they get in touch with you so that I can make sure that we?
Facebook, Tom Lehman, Instagram. We have the Property Solutions Team one that's on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. But my name will get you to all that too,
Okay,
right?
all right. So
Thomas
just
Lehman.
search Thomas Lehman.
Yeah,
Okay.
and you reach out. You guys are interested in manufactured housing? We've been doing. We started this week with doing a master class. We're teaching this to people,
Yeah.
giving them the secret. I'm showing them how I did it. Because you want to know why? If you're going to go out there and provide affordable housing, I'll help you. Okay.
Yeah.
But people, look, in this high interest and high price of climate, want and need. People need housing.
Yeah.
The higher end stuff, like, we don't really need that right now. We want that. But you know what? They see the price and the numbers. This person has to have a home. They
Yes.
already have one. That's a want. You want to serve the need. Okay. But keep that word there, serve. We take care of them. I have lost friends because they screwed my clients,
Yeah.
didn't treat them right. I have a temper. He thought he
Mhm.
did, right? I'm going to take care of my people. That's who they are. I take care of people's homes now because they can't, right?
I think that a lot of people they don't realize that, and it's easy to get lost in the money. It is because
I
whenever you
did.
start
I've
doing
been there.
well, it's easy.
Lee, I had
So
11
don't.
cars. 11 cars. My
Wow.
my garage held 12 though. I was missing one, right?
Yeah.
And they
You
weren't
got to
made
get.
in America either. They were not made here, let me tell you, okay? But I don't live that life anymore. That was dumb. I
Yeah.
didn't know. I wasn't taught better when I was a child. We didn't have money. We were
No.
broke.
Yeah. I knew more about writing bad checks and covering the bad checks than I knew about budgeting.
Hmm.
So something tells me that we got a lot more conversation to have. You know.
Absolutely, my friend. It was an
Um,
amazing night. Thank you.
Yeah, no. Hey, thank you for coming on. And again, everybody. So Tom can be reached at just search Tom Lehman, and that's
Facebook, Instagram.
Leamann.
Yep.
Facebook, Instagram, and I'm going to get on TikTok and follow and kind of stalk your content a little bit later tonight.
There
So,
you go.
brother, it was great having you on. So I'm going
I
to go ahead and
appreciate
end
it.
the stream now, and we'll catch up shortly.